Hey everybody, welcome to the AI Guide where we're making AI human. I'm David. What does that mean? That means that we focus on the human impact of AI and all the associated exponential technologies that are starting to very rapidly change the world. We're going to hear about an immediate example of that, but quickly before we do that, click the link below, get your free resources. The resources are free, everything in the resource is free, and you're going to learn much more about AI than we can do in these short videos. Plus, you'll have the opportunity to sign up for a beta course that I've done to help you change careers to something that's relatively AI safe, and that course is called the AI Safe Career Pivot. So check that out. So today's story, we've talked about 3D printing quite a few times over the 3 years we've been around now. Why? Because it's an exponential technology enabled by AI. That's why we talk about 3D printing. And when 3D printing first started out, it was very small volume, maybe 15, 20 parts an hour, and it was all metal parts. Well, fast forward a couple of years from that startup phase, and they started to be able to print with polymers, also known as plastics of different types. And so those polymers opened up a whole new range of products that could be printed with 3D printing, but still at very low volume. And then we started to hear about even some of the rocket companies using 3D printing to print some of their rocket parts, or one company, almost the whole rocket. But again, a very slow process, and it's one at a time in the rocket industry. So this has not been a technology ready for mass production, but that is now changing. So I've talked about this research firm that puts out studies on exponential technologies called IDTechX out of the UK. And they recently attended a major, probably the major US trade show for 3D printing called Rapid Plus TCT 2023. And so they had some observations from that trade show that show how this industry is changing. And one of the main things helping it change is AI. Why? You'll hear now. The announcements and releases that occurred at Rapid 2023 consistently have focused on enabling medium to high volume part production for additive manufacturing power users, and additive manufacturing, abbreviated AM, is better known as 3D printing. For the companies releasing new printers at Rapid, they share a common theme: higher productivity, whether it's higher speed, more power, or larger build volume. And by that, they mean they can print something bigger than before. There were more prominent releases for polymer AM printers. So the two I just talked about were metal printers. These companies also showcased printers with improved speeds. And then outside of the printers themselves, companies like Post-Process Technologies and HP highlighted their automated equipment that aims to streamline the entire manufacturing line for higher volume production. What is that? AI-enabled robotics is what we're talking about right there. Software had its moment at Rapid, and this is AI-driven software. As users look to optimize 3D printing operations, software presents opportunities to make 3D printing more accessible and streamlined for different end sectors, making it less hard for setting up and for running these high production runs. The expected growth curve for 3D printed materials will very much be fueled by the release and utilization of higher performance materials that go on to be used in demanding applications. Numerous metal powers and high performance photopolymer resins were also released. So I don't know if you realize this, but there is something going on that is pretty much invisible to the general public. Just like when I started talking about AI 3 years and 2 months ago when almost no one was talking about it, this is disruptive. So there is a complete materials revolution going on right now. And I heard one guy explain it this way, which makes a lot of sense. So when we were all younger in school, we learned the periodic table, right? And the periodic table tells you all the elements. Well, what they have learned is that there are basically multiple periodic tables behind that periodic table we all learn of hybrid materials. And this is happening very, very quickly now that these hybrid materials are being released into manufacturing and production. And so that's what they're talking about here, where they released a bunch of these new materials at the 3D printing show. Improvements are needed across the entire 3D printing ecosystem to encourage more productive use of 3D printing technology. Pushing towards these productive applications where 3D printing may be used as in-use parts, it's not easy to accomplish, but it's necessary to overcome the limitations of 3D printing. So what does this all mean? This means that, number one, 3D printing enabled by AI is moving into mass production, which will really change how a lot of things are being made right now. The second thing is that many new materials are being incorporated into 3D printing that allows a much broader range of things to be made by 3D printing. And then finally, and importantly, we have this whole materials revolution going on that is going to result in products that simply weren't possible before. And a lot of those products, new materials are being discovered by AI, by the way. So AI plays a critical role in 3D printing and in the materials industries generally. So thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time, and have a great rest of the week and weekend. Take care. Bye.